Williams is a fire captain in Tucson, Arizona, and I am really proud to call him my brother. But I'm really concerned because he's one of those guys that is on the front line. So this is going to be one of those conversations where I want to learn everything I can from you, Ben, but I'm going to sit there and wish with all of my heart that you stay safe and healthy and take every protective measure you can. So I remember when I was out there with you. Remember when I brought Dad out?
Yes.
He went to the fire station and he was thrilled with the tour. And then another year later, I went out and you actually let me ride along for a shift on a fire truck. And I had to put on this garb and helmet and everything. And I was kind of surprised that so many of your calls were medical calls, even though you were on the fire truck. Are they still
Yes.
mostly medical calls?
Yes, most of our calls are medical calls. I would say 95 to 97% are actually medical calls and not fire calls.
Yeah, we didn't have a fire call on the shift that I was with you.
Right.
You don't hope for things like that, but that would have made it a little more exciting. So I remember going with you and your other firemen. I kind of had to stay in the background, but some of those spaces and some of those really tiny apartments that you went into were really cramped and crowded. And sometimes the sick person had several other people around making sure they were okay. So that made it more cramped and crowded. What's it feel like going into those situations now, knowing about this coronavirus?
So before the virus started, that was really not an unusual occurrence to be used to being in cramped spaces with a lot of different people. So after the virus, we started becoming more aware of it. It started to be something that we noticed and started taking precautions for. But before that, it was really no big deal. But now it is.
Do you think that going into the future, it will be more of a big deal?
I think this is changing a lot of things for us from here on out. Now moving forward in the future, sure. It's hard to say how this is all going to end. So we don't know if we're going to, fall back to our old ways or if this is just going to continue on. But yeah, we've taken steps, and even new things are coming out that are going to change how we operate. And I think it's a good thing.
So tell me about the status of the coronavirus in Tucson right now.
Things here are really going fairly well. We've had 7 deaths in Pima County, and Pima County has maybe 1.5 million people in it. And it makes up mostly the greater Tucson metropolitan area and a lot of the surrounding communities. So we haven't really been hit that hard, and people are still going out.
Okay, so you're not as restricted as maybe some other areas in the country.
Right. Not at this point.
Right.
And so I don't think we're going to get there either.
Okay, so you have expectation that you won't peak as severely as that we're looking at here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the case.
I just saw a picture of Temple University, which is just an hour from me. A big, huge facility like a gym just lined up with cots, ready.
Ready, right.
Ready. So you're not doing those kind of preps as a city right now?
We have some preparations that are ongoing. Some of our operating procedures have changed, like with the masks that we used to wear compared to the masks we wear now. And an email just came out that hospitals, when we take patients where we're doing CPR on them, they're going to come out and meet us, and they're going to put a plastic sheet over the patient. And then they're going to take over CPR going into the hospital. So that's a new change. But I see that I just read a news article that New York City just started a procedure where they're not even going to have the paramedics who are doing CPR bring the patient to the hospital. They're going to finish all the work in the field. And we do that here also, but for the most part, if we can get a heart rhythm back, we'll start to transport the patient. It appears they want us to do, in New York City, they're going to want everything to just continue out in the field instead of taking them to the hospital.
Right, to try to relieve some of that pressure on the hospital space. So what is a normal day for you on the job?
Normal day, wake up in the morning, go to work, and not really think much about it, usually. Get a bite to eat, put on my uniform, get everything ready on the truck that needs to be on the truck, and then just wait for a call to come in. You run the call, you come back, do your thing, and wait for another call. So fairly standard. Now that the coronavirus came out, we have some things in place where we go in and we take each other's temperature now when we go to work. And if we have a fever, we're getting sent home so that we don't infect each other.
And then will you take a test, a COVID test?
No, well, we won't take a test unless oh, okay, I see what you're saying. If we have a fever or something like that, will we take a COVID test? It's hard to say right now. They're working through a situation where a guy came to work and then he started having a fever, not feeling well. They sent him home and we did test him for COVID, but I'm not sure if that's going to be like a standard procedure right away.
I know one of the things that I noticed when I drove around with you was that when you're actually on a call in the truck, we have the driver and we have the other people inside the truck that have very specific jobs. And your job was to sit in the right-hand seat and call the shots. And I wonder how that responsibility is going to affect you during some of these calls.
It's really not going to change much, honestly. And we have a very kind of distant connection with the patient, because if we were really involved in, I want to use the word care, but that might not be the right word for it. But if we were really emotionally attached to the patient, we wouldn't be able to do our job. So there's a very big disconnect. I kind of look at patients like automobiles, and this is what they need, and this is what we're going to do to make their automobile, their body work again. And if I thought of them as as a friend or as someone close to me, I wouldn't be able to function very well.
Is that a coping skill that you had to learn, or is
no,
it try to teach you?
It just learn. It might have been learned. It might have been a little harder when I was first on the job, but you figured out really quick that you're not going to make it if you start actually caring about every person that you see, because you just would be in the,
it would be emotionally too hard.
Sure.
I don't even know which station you're working at right now. Sometimes you let me know that you're at the busiest station or a slow station. What's the traffic to your station normally, and has it picked up?
Right now I'm at a very slow station, fortunately. Being towards the end of my career, I had some seniority. I was able to bid and move to a slower station where I could actually get some sleep at night. And the calls had picked up last year. We're running about maybe six calls a day, 6, 7, 8. And that will vary. Sometimes we'll run 3, sometimes we'll run 10. But they've slowed down considerably right now. I think it's almost like a calm before the storm, where people are afraid to call, maybe afraid to go to the hospital, or trying to put off calling if they don't think they really need to. Whereas before, people were calling for everything. Yeah, and there's less cars on the road, so maybe less traffic accidents, things of that nature also. We would go to a rock climbing gym where people would break their arms and, ankles and things like that. But all those places are closed down now. So all of those places and businesses and things that would generate calls in the past have gone away for right now. So I think that's why we're slowing down. Right. And I'm hoping we don't pick back up with the, just sick people now.
Right. Right. I hope so too.
Right.
Hope it can be a little pocket that doesn't get touched too much.
It would be nice. We have a different, if we drive for 15 minutes, that's a really close appointment that we have to go to. If our appointment is only 15 minutes away, like the piano teacher only lives 15 minutes from here. And that's a big deal, right? In Tucson. And we're very used to driving 30, 45 minutes. That's just part of our day. And we'll do that 2-3 times a day, sometimes there and back.
Mm-hmm.
So our population density is so much smaller than back east that I'm hoping the social
There's
distance.
already the sprawl.
Right.
Awareness or more sprawl. Well, and talking about piano, your schedule is actually pretty interesting and has been for years and years, that you get to work,
Right.
you get to shifts that last 24 hours, but then you get to go home. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that schedule and how it helps you with your family?
Sure. So we work 24 hours on and then 24 hours off. And we'll do that until we've worked 5 24-hour shifts. And then we get 6 days off in a row. So if you think about it, that's about 10 days a month that I work and 20 days off that I have a month. And that's really been nice with the family, be able to spend more time with them than maybe somebody else who just gets weekends off.
You homeschool your children, but you're very active in
Yes.
clubs and community and every speech and sports. But now the children can't go to any of those, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. In fact, they just asked me to be the Little League coach for their team. And I had started coaching the team, and we had 3 practices before everything got shut down. And it was pretty exciting. It was fun. I was really enjoying it.
Who's on the team?
Eric and Ezra, the 2 little boys. The girls wanted to play softball a couple years ago, and it just didn't work out with the whole scheduling thing. So that never happened. But
Right.
they play volleyball.
How are the kids coping?
The kids are doing okay right now. We still have a lot of things around the house to keep them busy. But the big thing is they miss their friends, getting together, all the activities that we go to. That's probably the biggest thing. Yeah. They're finding ways, though, doing Zoom and other things to stay connected.
Good with your little friends. I think that's so fun about how I'm hearing all these little kids now starting to get their own Skype accounts.
Right.
Accounts.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But you said at work, though, that some new things are coming along, and you're prepared, but you're going to be even more prepared. How are you prepared right now to handle a call of this serious nature?
Well, they just gave us new masks instead of the N95s, which we were running out of. They now gave us a mask with a rubber face piece. It's called a P100, and it looks something like this.
Wow.
This is one that I've had at home for doing some welding projects, but it's called a P100, and it actually filters close to 100% of particles that are 0.3 microns in size. The virus itself, I believe, is much smaller than that, but it will filter the droplets that the virus is attached to.
Oh,
That's why. And the big thing is that this the rubber seal right here is a lot different than the N95s, where it makes a much tighter seal on your face, whereas a regular face mask leaves a lot of
breathing room.
Space, space around the nose where something could get in, just regular fresh air.
Okay. So I can imagine you with that big mask and then your helmet.
Well, we don't usually wear helmets on medical calls, so we'll leave the helmet off. But yeah.
Okay. Well, then I don't stop imagining that.
Right. But yeah, we wear that on now. It's hard to communicate, though. It's a little difficult to speak with. The interesting thing, though, that people might not realize about these is it protects us, the worker or the person wearing this, but there's no there's no device to filter our breath coming out, which is interesting. Yeah.
So if you were an asymptomatic person who didn't know it, you could
right.
be contaminating people.
I could be wearing this mask and be contaminating people because of the outlet isn't filtered. Whereas a regular mask, at least your breath is being filtered through that paper that's right there.
Is there any filter that you could put inside of it?
No, not really. Maybe on the outside I could possibly put something, but nothing that really comes with it, or nothing it's designed for.
So as hospitals are having to reuse their masks, of course,
yeah,
the external part of the mask can get pretty grimy and dirty and transfer all kinds of germs. So my friend Julie's actually making larger face masks now that go over the regular mask that needs to be reused, and then it can be washed and changed.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, a lot of people come up with some pretty innovative ideas to manage this protective gear that they need to.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what people come up with. It's great. I love it. Desa and the girls, the younger ones, have been making masks like these, which is kind of
nice.
Yeah.
Are they for the family?
Yeah, so they've been for the family and for neighbors, whoever needs them. They're pretty neat.
Send me one.
Link on. Okay, we will.
I'll send you one.
So that's been keeping them very busy.
Well, and that's nice that they can find a way to participate in this. I think adults and anybody who can find a way to feel like you're contributing to the cause.
Right, sure.
It helps us adjust a little bit better than when we're completely out of control. So giving us a contribution can help us feel a little more in control.
Yeah, something to do is always nice.
You always find the greatest things to do with your kids, I'll tell you. I wish this just wasn't about togethering about the coronavirus, so I can tell all of my friends what a cool dad and a cool mom you and Desa are.
Well, we'll have to do another one later where we can talk about other fun homeschooling things or things like that.
I am going to continue to be concerned about you, and I'm going to continue to send you texts and say, hey, are you working today?
Right.
You get very concerned.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how you, like every morning when I wake up, I take this deep breath and I just kind of do this self-evaluation. I think a lot of people are doing that now, where as soon as they gain consciousness in the morning, they're like, okay, how do I feel? Am I sick? Am I not sick? Do I have a headache? Can I breathe okay? Do I have a cough? Is my throat sore? It's kind of interesting. Do you do that also?
Well, since I just came out of a month-long bout of pneumonia.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I do. And then my kids all text me and say, how are you breathing, Mom? Are you okay?
Right.
So they bring it to mind too. But I'm doing much better
right.
now. My biggest problem of introspection, I think, is at night. And it's causing some problems. And I think it's because you and I have the same genetic makeup that makes us overly busy. I hate to use a busy word, but we're always doing something, right?
Right.
Filling our days.
Yes.
And I think that in my busyness, I'm not processing, right? And at night when I lay down to sleep, I've never had sleep problems. All of a sudden, I'm just laying there. And I'm not even necessarily thinking about COVID. I'm just having a hard time thinking about anything. It's just or falling asleep, and then I wake up and have a hard time again too. So I imagine it's a struggle with anxiety, like a lot of people have, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I think my morning routine is usually I wake up and think. My habit is to think about how grateful I am about everything, and we truly do have a lot.
That's amazing.
Right, and so.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think about it, and I think how thankful I am to have a home that I can stay safe in. I think about all the people like you who are out there tackling this problem and helping people, because I can't do it, right? So there's gratitude. I'm grateful for the person who is shopping and delivering my groceries for me from
right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, a lot of good things that are coming from this. And I think that's one of them. the fact that we haven't been so busy lately with all the appointments that we normally go to has been really nice. I've really enjoyed actually just spending time at home and just kind of really not doing a whole lot. Usually I try to stay very busy, but it's kind of nice not having to run and run and run and run some more. It's
Right.
kind of enjoyed it. So
I think a lot of people are enjoying it, especially the people like you who will find something to do when they get bored. I've seen some people who are starting projects like they're learning to paint, or they're painting more elaborately, or they're
Right.
reading more, or they're sewing more, or
yeah,
and maybe we could just enjoy that.
right.
But I think it's going to be long.
Yeah, another thing I just wanted to point out, another thing I do in the morning and at night, I have one of these nasal wash things. You ever heard of them or seen them? I've never used one before, but I thought, maybe I should start just to keep, if there is a virus, then maybe I can keep it from colonizing and growing and becoming worse. So every morning and night I do that. It can't hurt, I don't think. So, yeah.
No, can't hurt.
Right.
We both have the same mother. We've been carrying her for all of our lives. I finally
Right.
haven't got one too.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Well, it's been fun to introduce you to my friends.
Great.
I really appreciate you, and
Thanks.
we'll talk again soon. You're here or there. And
Okay.
one of the things that I want to do is to take a minute of silence to reflect
Okay.
on the situation and reflect on the work you do and some of the needs that you expressed. Togethering, because we will get through this better when we get through this together. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Beth.